Hello and welcome. All over the world, income inequality is increasing. This increasing inequality leaves a spatial footprint in our cities. Understanding the relationship between increasing inequality and levels of socioeconomic segregation is crucial when developing urban policy and implementing effective urban design strategies. In this video, I will explain to you the global trends of socioeconomic segregation using data from case studies from all over the world. Globally, the poor and the rich are increasingly living separated in different parts of cities. If a city is highly segregated by income, this is problematic because it leads to unequal geographies of opportunity. Segregation is also problematic because living in areas with high levels of poverty has a negative effect on individual outcomes related to education, to work, income, health, and general well-being. These negative effects are so-called neighborhood effects. In our book Urban Socioeconomic Segregation and Income Inequality, we investigated the effects of the increase in income inequality on the social geography of cities. The book investigates 24 urban regions from Africa, Asia, Australia, Europe, North America, and South America. And it's very important to have such a diverse set of case studies, as levels of segregation can vary considerably between cities in different regions of the world. Based on the analysis of data from these 24 urban regions, we came to 5 main conclusions on the changing patterns of socio-spatial inequality in cities. The first conclusion is that in almost all cities, the occupational structure is professionalizing. This means that the share of high income and high status jobs is increasing, at the expense of the share of lower income and status groups. This trend of professionalization in the workforce is important for understanding of the social geography of cities, because we know that many high-income workers have a preference for living in the center of urban regions. For example, in New York, the percentage of higher income occupations has increased from roughly 26% to almost 38% between 1980 and 2010. And in London, this percentage has increased from approximately 18% to 34% during the same period. At the same time, the share of low-income occupations dropped or remained similar. The second conclusion is that levels of socioeconomic segregation are rising in almost all the case study cities. The cities of Cape Town, Buenos Aires, and Mexico City were exceptions to this trend. So generally speaking, for most of these cities, we found that the rich and the poor are increasingly living in different parts of the same city. The third conclusion is that the higher the level of income inequality in a country, the higher the level of socioeconomic segregation. The data shows a positive relationship between levels of segregation and income inequality. And the data strongly suggests that increasing levels of inequality will also lead to increasing levels of socioeconomic segregation. The fourth conclusion is that there is a convergence between higher and lower income countries. In other words, in terms of inequality and segregation, cities in higher income countries are moving towards similar levels of inequality and segregation than in lower income countries. Measures of segregation normally indicate how different groups of people are distributed throughout neighborhoods in a city. But these measures do not take into account the underlying geography. Our final conclusion is that the geography of inequality in our case study cities is changing much faster than the measured level of segregation. We also studied where different socioeconomic groups live within cities. This can be illustrated with 2 maps from London. The darker the color on the map, the more affluent the people are who live in these areas. In the 1980s, higher incomes were concentrated in the north, in the south, and in the southwest of the Greater London area. But by 2010, this pattern has completely reversed, and the higher incomes were concentrated in the central part of London. And very similar patterns can be found in many other cities. The data shows that in many case study cities, the rich are moving to the center of cities and to attractive coastal regions, while poverty is suburbanizing. In places where it does not happen, we find that people with higher incomes live in enclaves and in gated communities on the outskirts of cities. In almost all case study cities, the poor and the rich are living in different neighborhoods, but also in different parts of the city. And this leads to unequal geographies of opportunity. Further professionalization of the workforce and increasing levels of inequality are expected to lead to further increases in levels of socioeconomic segregation in the future. And this is what we call the global segregation thesis. All over the world, increasing levels of income inequality are leading to increasing levels of socioeconomic segregation.